debt-free company. We just bought another factory in Bristol to build quantums out of, and it'll be paid for. So there's something big to talk about Thor. Everything, all our factories, everything we built is paid for. So we don't build a bunch of units and have them sitting around hoping we sell them. 100% debt-free company is a big deal to talk about when you're selling a coach at this price point, because in 5-6 years we're still going to be around. If there's another crunch, we can downscale and still hang out. So that's a pretty big deal when you're selling high-ticket items. I think I talked about it. So first, all Thors, if it's a Class A, is going to be an automotive bond windshield. Now, most all RVs have gone to this now, but if a guy's got a trade, chances are he had the old age gasket that held the windshield in. So you want to talk about that? All our front caps are going to cure for 12 hours at the factory before we mount it to the coach. So the glass is going to get bonded to the cap, and it's going to sit on the horse for 12 hours. Whether it's an Axis, an Outlaw, a Challenger. The only thing we don't do that on is a Ford, and they're already automotive bond because they come from Ford. So a pretty big deal to talk about. Sickens paint, best automotive paint in the world. That's going to be never cure, so it's not going to harden. You're not going to get stress cracks and sickens. So if you're in a partial paint Hurricane, the top and bottom are sickens, and you got HD Max up the center. Okay, that's the same paint they use on Ferraris and Lamborghinis. That is the best automotive paint in the world. Okay, and the difference is it's not going to get hard and it's not going to get stress cracks when it flexes. All our cameras are in the mirrors. That's a huge deal to talk about. All our competition still mounting them down low. That's going to be mounted to EGS steel strapping. Anything mounted side will be mounted to EGS steel strapping. Moving into windows, your main frameless window, the beauty of it is it's going to hide your seal. All our RVs are frameless windows now, so it's something to talk about. But if you go look at some of your used units, you'll see where the seal's popped up over the edge. That's because the sun's dried it out and shortened it up. There's other advantages on frameless windows, but that is the main reason you'd want a frameless window. We do that on all our products now. Any questions about the frameless windows? What's your awning going to be mounted to?
EGS steel strapping.
EGS steel strapping. You can adjust our awnings on the side. Just bring it about almost in, or you can let it up and down. If it's got legs on it, it's not a wind sensor. If you're in a Hurricane and you see that it doesn't have the legs on it, then it does have the wind sensor. You can demo that by shaking it twice and it'll come back in. You can't get that awning in bigger than a 20 foot, so that's why you can see that it's not over an outdoor kitchen on, say, a Hurricane or a Miramar, because they're only 20 foot long, because it doesn't have enough support if you get over that length. Okay, so if you're seeing a coach that doesn't have, that's usually why we need a longer awning. So it's hit or miss with that, so don't quote it unless it's on the unit you're selling.
Anytime you see a leg on the awning, it's
not a wind sensor. If it does have no legs running down the sidewalls, you can shake it twice, it'll come back in. And also with that, just hit the button out once, it'll go all the way out and stop. And then shake it twice and it'll go in automatically. Okay, any questions? And some of those might be on even, you'll see those coming down the line in other products as well. All exterior openings are framed out with aluminum. The only thing we don't frame out would be a speaker. Okay, so any of our products, whether it be an Axis, a Hurricane, whatever we're selling, all exterior openings are framed out with aluminum. That's a really big deal to be talking about when you're selling against a price point coach, because most coaches in the $80,000 to $120,000 range, some do, some don't. But we do on anything we build, whether it's a 22-foot E or a 45-foot Tuscany. Any hole that's cut into this sidewall is framed out with aluminum, whether it be a refrigerator return, furnace return. That's a big deal because it's going to have something for your fiberglass to bond to without getting water down the sidewall, and also it's going to sit up and not squeak to going down the road. Any questions about that? 100-gallon freshwater tanks on Miramars and up. That's a pretty big deal. All our sensors are on the outside of all our products' tanks. So black, gray, or freshwater, your probe is encased in a seal. It's not a hole through the tank. So if a customer gets debris on his black tank sensor, he can pull that out and replace it, where most products you're going to have to drop the tank $120 an hour and clean that up to not show full all the time. And that's everything we sell is like that, whether it be an Axis or a Tuscany. Okay, so that's a big deal. Winnebago Allegro, are the only two other manufacturers I believe doing that. There might be some other manufacturers switching to that, but those are the only coaches built with sensors on the outside of the tanks. Okay, and that's what that panel's for. You make sure you talk about your quick dump, so the customer's not riding around with 100 gallons of fresh water. That's stupid at 8 pounds a gallon. Okay, drop it down, carry 10 gallons. Okay, but the beauty of the quick dump is not sitting there waiting for all that water to run out of a little bitty hole. Okay, and that's Miramar and up. We run that in all our products in the gas division. I'm not sure what diesel, but Miramar up, it'll be 100 gallon fresh. Okay. 13-inch rails on Miramar and up, the height. That's going to give you a lot more storage than a Hurricane. The Hurricane's going to be 7-inch, Axe is going to be 5-inch. That's really the only difference. With MORryde, they're going to guarantee us a leveled foundation, so the front corner to the back corner can be only a variance of 0.008 in levelness, and that's done by MORryde. And a beautiful thing about that, 4 years ago when I went to MORryde, there was no other manufacturers doing that. Now everybody gets their chassis done at MORryde. So something to drive home about Thor, we've been using them for a long time. Now you got all these other manufacturers getting it done. Some of them do different things than we do, but keep that in mind when you're talking to a customer about chassis upfitting. We build boxes, not chassis. Okay, because as soon as you cut into a chassis at a factory, Ford's not going to warranty anything. MORryde is approved to stretch and build on chassis. That's a big deal because it's still going to offer that 2-year warranty if you were to get into a chassis issue. But if a company goes in and starts cutting and welding on a chassis and they're not authorized, it's a big problem. Once again, we let them do all that. The Ford drops the chassis off to us. MORryde comes and gets them, upfits them, brings them back. Okay. On top of all our rails, we're going to add a neoprene isolator. It's just about I don't know, 5/8 thick, and the floor is going to sit on that to keep noise from traveling through the floor. Okay. Biggest difference in a Hurricane Wind Sport down versus a Miramar up. Miramar up will be aluminum wheels, 22.5-inch tires. Hurricane down will be 19.5 with steel. This is going to keep noise from coming up through the coach with aluminum. So if you get a guy that wants to change his tires on a Hurricane, you can't put 22.5s on it, but you could get some aluminum mags to help with noise reduction on an entry-level Class A. But you can't really put a bigger mag on it because it won't fit in the wheel well. You might get away with a little bit, but just know that in the back of your mind. That's a big differential from a low to high-end coach, is 22.5-inch rubber with aluminum wheels, which that's pretty, you guys probably already know that. These U-rings are just going to be for tie-outs for like your bikes or dog or whatever, so you can lock up stuff. That's all that's for, okay? If you got some, you know, something you're putting back there that has a gas smell to it, most people don't do that. This, you can open it up to get airflow to the rear. This is a new door for us. Open that door, Don. When you're doing the new door on the Outlaws, now this won't be on these 16s, so it's only going to be on 17s. Always make sure your door's open or it won't close properly because it's too much airflow. And this is a locking mechanism to open and close it now. But as you see, it's an actuator, so it's very easy to open and close. Okay? And one deal to talk about this is now we got rid of the old latches and all the old hinges that would rust up. So that's on any 17 model Outlaw. Okay? You got power awning on a Class A, manual on a Class C. So don't quote a power awning on a Class C Outlaw if y'all get any of those in. That'll be a manual. A lot cleaner door, 8,000 pound hitch on all Thor motor coaches. Okay? No matter what product it is. Any questions about the rear of any of our coaches? Know that all our cameras don't have audio anymore. So don't sell that. Most RV manufacturers don't use those anymore, but there's no audio in the camera, okay? And what that means, you can't hear somebody back here talking if you're backing up or something like that. Any questions on the rear? So on 17 only, 29-gallon fuel tank on the Outlaw Class A's. The beauty of that is a guy that owns something like this is going to have race bikes or something. He might want to run, you know, 100 or 90 something octane in it, so he can do that. It's not, we were running off the main gallon. We don't do that anymore. It's got its own separate tank, its own pump, and you have to ground it. Okay, it's got to be ground to work. And all Class A's are going to be an 80-gallon tank for all our products. And then when you get into a Class C, there'll be some differences, variances. Most of them are 40-gallon. And of course, y'all know, if you don't know this, your generator's going to run off your main fuel tank. Okay. So any questions about the Outlaw with the pump, separate tank, 17. Notice also MORryde cuts all our steel right here. This is computer cut. So one thing to talk about, if you're selling against competition and they got a little line up here, that's how they started cutting it. And it's not going to be a smooth cut. So your bulb seals don't stay as well. But just because that's computer cut, it's going to be a lot better finish. And that's all going to be powder coated. Also, make sure you're letting your clients know that they have to get these coaches aligned after they take ownership. If you're not letting them know that, you're doing them injustice, because Ford and Thor will not want to cover it if they don't get it aligned. We align them, we build on them, but when you put 2,000 pounds on them, you got to have them aligned again. Because if they run the front tire toe out and it's off-centered, Ford or Thor is not going to want to pay for it because they didn't align it. So it's in your handbook, but that's probably all Class A's that are sold. You have to do that, because once you load this up, it's going to operate a lot different. And then also know that all MORryde does all our drive shafts. That's a big deal, because most 34-footers or better come with 2 drive shafts, and most of them will have 4 when we get done with them because we stretch them. MORryde balances 4 drive shafts at a time. Okay, they're one of the only companies that has a machine that'll do that. Most manufacturers balance a drive shaft one at a time, put them together, hope they run true. Not at Thor. We all are going to have all of them put together, balance them, make sure they run true, and then put them up underneath the coach. Because I know you guys have been on that test drive and had that vibration. It's usually a drive shaft. It's very expensive to get fixed if it's out. So very big deal to talk about with drive shafts. And MORryde builds those extra 2 drive shafts, puts all of them together and balances them. Because you can balance a drive shaft just like a rim or a tire on an RV. Any questions about that? It's a huge deal when you're talking about even like an Axis or something, because they're going to change the differential on that to make sure there's no vibration. You got your dump station. Make sure you're talking about Thor with transfer switches. You guys know what a transfer switch is. Okay, transfer switches allows you, when you unplug the coach, you just throw the cord back in there. You don't have to plug it back in to the coach to get the generator to emit power. Okay, we run a transfer switch on everything we build. There's a lot of midline manufacturers that don't even offer that in a $120,000 coach, and we do that on a Gemini. We do that on an Axis, Tusk, or whatever. So that's pretty neat. Transfer switch, so your customer doesn't have to remember to plug it back in to get power. Okay. Any questions about that? That's a huge deal when you're selling, because most coaches don't offer that. Miramarin up, we'll have the Anderson system. This will allow you to winterize very easily. When you get into hurricane wind sport down, you're going to have to go in and mess with the knife valves and stuff like that behind the counters and stuff like that. You guys, if you don't know how to winterize, I suggest you learn how to do it. It'll help you sell better. Knowing like this Prowler, instead of just throwing this all in a customer's lap, go over how to dump something, how to maintain it, and you'll find out your sales will get better instead of just dumping all this information in a first-time buyer's lap and they go, oh, I got to rethink this because I didn't know all this stuff. So make sure you're going over that stuff and how to winterize and de-winterize. I think it's a big deal. Most of our coaches always look in the back of your brochure, but most of our coaches are water system heat. Why is that a big deal? Because most other manufacturers are only tank heaters, okay? And water system heat means that if you see in the back of your brochure and you're selling a Hurricane, it says certain floor plans are water system heat, and then certain floor plans are tank heaters. Tank heaters just a pad underneath the tank with an electric running through it. Water system heat blows heat from the furnace where your water system is so it won't freeze up. Now, you don't want to tell a first-time buyer this, and because they don't understand all that. You got to have your furnace on, okay? You have to de-winterize it if it's below 32 degrees if you don't have the furnace on, okay? But that's a very good deal. I've got a guy that camps in, I'm not going to say the name, in let's say an $80,000 coach. He goes moose hunting with 2-3 foot of snow on top. He brings a couple extra propane tanks with him, and it never freezes up. Remember, if there's a full wall slide over the dump area, probably not water system heat because we can't run it up through the floor. Okay, be smart with that when you go in a coach. even if a coach has an option for tank heaters and we didn't put them on there, it's still going to have the spot where it says tank heaters. But if you go in a coach and you're not seeing tank heaters, you should automatically know that it's water system heat. That'll be on a Challenger, Outlaw, Miramar, some floor plans on a Hurricane, some floor plans on an Axis. But be careful with it. Look in your back of your brochure. It specifies which floor plans we do that. It's not full basement heat. Okay, understand that if there's no water system, that's not going to be warm. But your customer needs to have a sensor. They got these new ones. You can plug it in outside. They can walk out in the inside of the coach and see what temperature that storage area is. They got to make sure they didn't cover up the holes. Make sure that it's getting heat, not just go camping in 20 degrees of weather and hope it's okay. They've got to check into it. Don't just throw that in a first-time buyer's lap because he's going to call you and you go, well, man, everything's froze up. Well, I didn't know I had to leave the furnace on. So people don't understand that. So make sure if you're selling that, or it's a good way, hey, until you get comfortable with the coach, come in, let's de-winterize it here at Total Value, and then when you get done with it, come back in, we'll do your roof inspection, and we'll re-winterize it for you. That way you're keeping your customers in the lot and stuff like that. That's a very big deal on that. So all freshwater pumps on all Thors are outside. Why is that a big deal? That's a huge selling advantage. Go out in some of these other products and try to find the freshwater pump. You can't find them. They're up inside hidden. The problem with that, most new coaches are going to have trash in the line, so now it's not going to work. But on a Thor, you can take the filter off, clean it off right here, and you're done. Okay, also, you're gonna, if it was to bust a line or something be wrong with it, it's not going to flood your coach. Okay, another thing, this is one of the first major components to go wrong in an RV. You can fix it, you can get to it. Okay, so we do that on all our products. It's a big selling advantage, but if you're skipping your walk around, your 30-40 minute walk around on a product, it's costing you sales because of little things like this. I believe in that a lot, about walk arounds, and instead of trying to ask a guy all the questions up front, take him out and say, hey, can I show you how Thor's built? You'll be amazed at the answers you'll get without even asking, just by showing him, yeah, mine didn't have that. Oh, you got a trade. Or, you know, little things like that, where guys are going to come in here, they're not going to want to tell you they have a trade. They're not going to tell you a lot of things until you get the walls down, and how you do that is product knowledge, in my opinion, because the professional shoppers is going to be about price, and that's it. But the people that are coming in, they need general knowledge. Any questions about full water filtration on Miramar up? I might have said that. Outdoor showers, tank flush on most all of our products. Again, sell what you see. Another thing here, this is big with Thor. All our seals are in tracks. You go look at 98% of all of the RVs, guess what? All the seals are glued on, okay? So that's a huge deal, because in 5 years, those seals aren't gonna be blowing around in the wind. And 3 years, if a customer wants to replace it, slide it out, put another one in. Again, that's on all Thor motor coaches. Huge, huge selling advantage on the Thor. Seals are in tracks, not glued on, okay?
Quick question.
Yeah.
Is that bay heated?
Yep. Well, you got water system heat. Yep.
Okay, so that
bay's
heated anywhere.
If it has a tank or a water line in it, it would be heated if it's a water system heat coach.
Okay.
But like I said, if a customer's going to challenge that on a below 32 average, I'd make sure they're testing it. Make sure they got heat in that compartment, because they might have thrown something in there, or a new coach might have blown some trash and covered a hole up. So make sure you're just not saying, yeah, water system heat, moving on.
So point out where the blower is,
yep,
so they don't put stuff in front of it.
Right, and you'll see them, but just be smart. It's in all your brochures, it's in the back of them. But you should, once you get used to selling that, you're gonna know in a certain part of your walk around which coaches do and which don't. That's why you do your walk arounds. So rotocast storage on all our products. We run a few steel on the back because we got an all steel back, so you can carry 2,500 in the rear of this, but you're not gonna change this unless it's 200 degrees, okay? So heat, stuff like that is not gonna change the consistency of this material. Now, all our competition is starting to run this now, but guess what? They run screws right into the steel to hold them up, okay? It's not gonna last that long. We run an I-beam all the way down to support the floor on all our products, okay? So When you're up against another product, yeah, they might have rotocast, but I bet you there's 10 little screws holding it in. The problem with that, they start rusting and fall out. This is a steel I-beam holding up all our storage compartments and all our products, okay? Inverter residential reefers, okay? This is huge here, okay? All our products now are running residential reefers. There'll be a day when a 25-foot Class C rolls in here that has no LP tanks on it and no LP refrigerator, because that's where we're headed. And we're doing that now in some 30-foot Class Cs, some floor plans in a Hurricane. And you want to know that you can set the generator auto gen start right here. There's 6 controls. You can set that for time, temperature, or low volts. Once you get it set, you'd have to come out here to change that. But once you pretty much get that set, you're not going to change it. But the beauty of this, you can set this up to start at 70 degrees. So if you got dogs in the coach and you're at Disney World, instead of running a generator all day because you know it's going to be 100 degrees, you can set that to start, cool the coach off, cut off. A guy that's got a lot of property puts his coach out in the field and gets 130 degrees inside. He can set it to turn on at 90 degrees. Low volts, you can set it to turn on at an 8 volt where it'll charge your batteries up and shut off. Okay? So understand that, but also understand if you're up against Coachman and some other products, they run an inverter and they run a residential and a reefer, but guess what? There's no auto gen start. Okay? And you got to go out and turn that on, and a lot of manufacturers are doing that, but the buying power that Thor has, being 100% debt free, we did this 2 years ago and went to the rep and bought a lot of them, and we're doing this on gas that we saw on only $250,000 diesels back years ago. So if you don't understand this system, you need to, because there'll be a day when 30-foot anything rolls in here with no propane and no propane on the coach at all. I think that's coming. And there'll be a day when trailers are like that too. Because every time you see a used coach, refrigerator goes bad, what do you see in replace of it? Electric refrigerator, because an LP electric refrigerator is so expensive. Okay, and the components in the back of an LP refrigerator are about that much, all the way up and down it, so you're losing that much more space in an RV, where you could gain that in refrigerator storage. Okay, any questions about that? Because it's pretty big. Everybody get it? There's some sensors on the outside right there. Cummins Onan, Onan merged with Cummins. What's the main selling advantage? Why you'd want to talk about that?
A lot more places to get service.
Yep, warranty work. Used to get warranty work done on an Onan was impossible because there was nothing around. Okay, so you just replaced the fuel and the carburetor because it had trash in there, stuff like that. So when they merge, it doesn't mean it's a diesel. 5,500 Onan on most of our products. Let's talk about that for a minute. Because the guy says, well, I had a 7,500 on a 30-foot Class A, it was, let's say it's a 2000 model. The reason why he did is because the components weren't as good and the insulation wasn't good. Okay, they used to run all residential insulation to motorhomes, and it shimmy down, you lose R values out the top. So you needed 2 air conditioners on a 30-foot motorhome to keep it cool. Now we got high block density insulation. It's not going to change unless you put a hole through the wall. And that's in all sidewalls, roof, and floors. So in a 30-foot Hurricane, 1 air conditioner is sufficient. Stuff like that. So something to talk about, because a guy that's got a trade that, maybe looking at a Hurricane, sees the Onan 4000, 1 air conditioner, he's going to wonder in the back of his mind, is that enough? And yes, it is. So Lippert jacks, we started using these jacks, I think 5-6 years ago. Don't hold me to it. Most all industry has gone to this now. And the reason why they've gone to it is one reason: they're a hydraulic return. They're not a spring return. So manufacturers that used to see the springs on the jacks, when your customer got ready to go and hits retract and they've been camping for 5 or 6 days, guess what? One of them doesn't come up. And they got to get up underneath it to get it up. With hydraulics rarely ever fail, and that's going to hydraulically return that jack. And we run Lippert jacks on everything we build with jacks, even a Tuscany. It'd just be a bigger system. Okay? The way you override this system is you got 4 lines. If one of the jacks won't come up, loosen up your head. All you're doing is overriding the electronic switch. Take this cap off, 5/8 wrench, you crank the jack right up. You're not stuck. That's any Thor with a lipper jack, because we've been using them for a while. But that system right there will keep your customer from being stuck somewhere because the jack won't come up. Okay, and that is a problem in the industry. So if you're not talking about that with guys that have owned motorhomes, is it something you go into with a first-time buyer? Probably not, or it depends on your relationship. But a guy that's owned a motorhome, it's good to talk how you fix issues. Okay, so 4 lines, 4 heads, and then take this cap off and jack it up. Does everybody get that? And also know with lipper, there's a brain that sensor gets off. You have to reset them, stuff like that. I'm not going to dive heavy into that, but if you want, I can send you some info on that, how to do that. Now, with all Swintechs, every Swintech is always going to have one box, and we'll look at the one inside, but usually on your slide out on this side, they'll be underneath the slide. A bed slide will be underneath the bed. But remember, if there's anything you sell that Swintech is going to have a white box, and I'm going to show you inside to control the coach so you can override systems. Another thing with Swintech is you got your aircraft aluminum auto worm gear. The other thing about Swintech is always make sure you hold retract down all the way in, because if you hold retract down and one motor hits on a full wall slide and you stop, the other one hadn't finished, and you keep doing that, it's getting further and further out of whack. You can hold retract down for an hour, it doesn't hurt Swintech, because the motors don't know to quit unless they bottom out. Okay, so always do that, especially on a full wall slide, because you'll notice how it catches up. Well, if you stop it, it stops getting it off kilter, and then that's when you have to reset it. But hold it down, retract all the way, you'll hear it stop, extend, same thing till it stops. Okay, you've also got on our bigger slide outs, the 3-track system is going to be for support. All slide toppers are standard on all our products. We don't build anything without slide toppers. Also notice a lot of stuff standard now for Thor. What's the selling advantage of having a lot of standard stuff there versus options? When you're talking,
That's expensive.
Right.
You don't get value for options.
Right. Resell. When you go to a dealer and do a trade, I've never seen a sales manager ad for options. Okay, so a guy that has $4,000 used to is like 20 grand when I was selling, but now it's a little bit lower because they make them standard. He's going to get more back for his trade. Okay, any other questions on the outside of the coach? We're going to go inside and do a little more stuff inside. Nope. Did you hear that last? And if you don't do that, every time it starts getting a little, and you can reset it, but it's just not how you operate. Those motors don't know to stop until they bottom out. So you're not going to hurt it to hold it down. Okay. I went to a dealer not long ago and it's a full wall slide. And, this slide out's already quit working. You know, and the slide out's out. I knew what he did. I hit extend and it brought it right back in. So just know.
So he didn't let the motor run long enough?
Yeah, it didn't go all the way through its motion. So just hold that down. It's not going to hurt. You don't see that. Oh, go ahead, sit down, please. All our chairs swivel and rotate. The Outlaw is not a power driver's seat, so don't quote it. Challenger and Miramar and up or. Okay? So keep that in mind. Don't get caught on power seats. Because power seats, when they come from Ford, it's called a power platform. You can add power seats to coaches, but it's a lot of risk involved with customers. And you know, it's probably about $1,200. So you, like Class C's are all power platforms. Like a Hurricane is an option. So you have to be careful that it didn't come with power seats. I don't usually recommend it. You can add it, but from a company standpoint, it's not good liability.
Maybe you want to get that?
I thought you said service.
I think he did too.
I don't know. I'm sure the coffee is going on the hill.
Let's go up front. We're all sorry.
No, you're fine.
We're gonna go back. I think, I don't know yet, but remember, our head units are not satellite ready. They don't have satellite. They're not GPS ready. Don't have GPS. Okay. The reason why we don't do it, most people that own a car that's older with GPS, they don't use it anymore because it's outdated. Doesn't tell them traffic. Doesn't tell them wrecks. Doesn't tell them where cops are. Doesn't tell them where Chick-fil-A is. This does, because it's got an HDMI plug on all our products, whether it be a small class C and up. And HDMI mirrors a smartphone. So whether your customer's got an Android or a iPhone, $12 adapter, boom boom, Facebook, Pandora, Google Maps, satellite radio, whatever, campground apps, right there. You got a guy with a flip phone, you're wasting your time. Swap the head unit out there, $300 or $400. That's what you're gonna have to do, because he's not gonna change to a smartphone unless you get him a TomTom or something like that. Okay, and that runs on everything we build up to, I think, a 40-foot Tuscany. When you see the 10-inch screens, then those have that capability. Okay, and the reason why you have to upgrade that every year, and there's just reasons that we do that. And our last head unit said satellite ready. Well, the problem with that, it costs $400 or $500 to set that up, and then you got to pay a monthly subscription. Now you can get on the internet and download satellite radio for free.
So you just plug your phone into that.
Yeah, right here. Well, I'm not gonna open it, but HDMI.
Put a display on the screen.
Right, but USB doesn't. That only does a few things with phones. HDMI, like we have HDMI plugs on a CQTV. That when you plug HDMI into anything, it mirrors whatever that capability is. So all you're doing is plugging this in, and this is now your phone. Okay. That's a pretty big deal to talk about with customers, and like I said, the reason we do it, I mean, we could put a $1,200, $1,300 head unit in here, but the guy that wants the techie, the nice stuff, no matter what you put in, it's not going to be good enough for him. That's why we don't do that. Okay, because most people aren't going to care if it's $1,000 head unit or $300. Remember, 6 to 5 speed. If it's got a 4, it's a 6. If it's got a 3, it's a 5. 10th digit in the VIN is a G. That's always going to be a 16 chassis. That's something to talk about. We were at a 15 chassis 4 or 5 months ago. A lot of manufacturers are building 16 and a half, 17s on 15 chassis, not Thor. All our 16s and a halves were, most of them were 16 chassis, and I know all our 17 boxes were 16 chassis. That's a big deal because the coach is sold off a box, but a lot of manufacturers use the chassis that's been sitting around for 2 years and put it up underneath the coach. So that's something to talk about, especially if a manufacturer got hooked on too many chassis and they're building newer boxes on older chassis because they've been sitting out somewhere rusting for a year or two. So something to talk about. All auxiliary starts on all our products. That's going to merge the house and the engine battery together. If you can't get the generator started, I always stick a business card or something, manipulate that so you can go back and start a generator or go start the engine. Instead of going and getting a jump box in front of a customer, try that next time, and usually it'll work. Because usually your chassis batteries will always be charged. And we run all those auxiliary start on all our products. Yep. So all fiberglass doghouse on all our products. So we believe in that, so we're even doing it on an axis. Less decimals, less heat. Used to when a guy drove a Class A motorhome, he was the hottest in the coach because he did all the box. And all our other competition still running carpet, still running a wood doghouse. Okay.
Hey Mark, I have a question for you too. Hey Jeff, on that mileage there, could you look at that? How many of your dealers in the country have coaches with 64 miles on them?
Only total value.
That's it.
That's it.
Wow.
Yeah, say that again for the customer. Only total value.
Yeah, and I like that. Auto leveling, you can reset this. If you get a guy that wants all that information, send me an email, I'll send it to you. So if we're riding down the road without the generator on, would I have power on that plug?
Yes,
yeah.
If you had your inverter.
Yep. And then would I have power if I plugged in the back of that TV? Yep, because all your TVs are hot. If there's an inverter on a Thor, TV plugs are hot, and 1 plug rear and back on a short coach, 3 in a big coach. That's a good thing to know. I've got electrical charts I can send you too. If you want to send that to me, so you're taking yourself out of it. Know that this is going to be power, and then we put the slow rise. You want to just pull that down and just a small tug on it is all you got to do. Any other questions about the front cam? Notice the real cherry wood. Okay, now for Miramar up, it's going to be real cherry wood in all our products. It's built right down the road by Chase. It is unbelievable, the factory. You guys, if you get a chance, you ought to go down there.
Is this the new color?
This is the new Pacific, yes.
This is the new Pacific.
Good question. We're running Resort, Pacific, and Milan. Okay, Miramar 17s and up will have that in them. Okay, so know that.
Going to solid hardwood?
Huh?
They going to hardwood cabinets?
Miramar is, yeah. So remember, why is that a selling venture? Because most RVs in this price point this is wrap particle board with a hard real front. And we did that for years in Outlaw and Miramar, but now all our higher end coaches have real cherry wood throughout, no pressed wrap wood. Okay?
Miramar up.
Miramar up. Okay, and that's in your 17s only. So be aware of that.
That new wood looks good in that Miramar too.
It does.
What do you think of this color?
So always talk about your drop down bunk. Know in the back of your mind that you can build a coach without this. If you get that nutcase that wants it, but you have we could usually do it, but you but just get with Ivan before you start quoting stuff like that, because they're going to pick up a few more cabinets and stuff, but the resale value and all that with this is going to be big. The Venetian, we are working on the first diesels with drop down bunk and a front entry door. You guys know that, right? Okay, good. Figured you did. Notice another thing, all Thors, your plug-ins, you'll never see a plug in the sidewall of a Thor. Why? Because your wires will be laminated in the sidewall, you can't fix the plug. So all our plugs, all our wires are ran underneath the coach where you can always fix a light switch or a 110 volt, okay? You're usually gonna have storage on one side of your booth. All our coaches usually dream dinettes now with a quick assist up and down. Remember your EGS steel strapping. I want to show you this. I want to get this on video so you can see this. If you don't have a magnet, I would get one. This is a really good selling point. Did you see that jump over where that's sticking to the steel? I mean, watch this. Okay, that right there, once you got a relationship and you get going with the customer is huge. You can also do it with your smartphone stud finders, but that'll let them see that EGS steel strapping. And the reason you want to talk about that, when you run a screw in a sidewall, if you run a Luan or aluminum stud in a sidewall, is for one, can mess up your stud, two, is going to loosen up out of wood. So that's where all your coaches comes from. You shouldn't have a rattle in a Thor other than maybe a stovetop cover or something like that. It should be tight because we do EGS steel strapping in everything we build. Okay, whether it be a entry-level Class C or a high-end diesel pusher, it'll have that. No,
You can do that anywhere around the window.
Yep. Well, not you're gonna have aluminum around the window. That'll be aluminum frame, but all your cabinets and stuff like that.
Wherever the cabinets are, you got.
No, we went away from air mattress, sleeper sofa, so don't quote that. Nobody wanted air, so they.
Why? Why? Tell me.
Because everybody didn't take care of them.
I don't know.
You know, they'll sling the mattress down in there, and
Are you buying lunch?
Mike's here.
You said Mike's here.
It doesn't matter.
Mike left.
Oh yeah, I can, yeah. But I'm gonna have to run, yeah.
Yeah. Do I
Yeah.
have to repeat? Yes.
So know that most
Thor
people,
buys lunch. It's a great
So-
company.
most people just throw those air mattresses in there, and then they say, "Well, it goes low over the night." That's why nobody wants them. So if they want that, so be it. The industry went away from it. I loved them because
I used to do. I just say because they had so many pinhole problems that they didn't get a good night's sleep.
Yeah, but most people, and then they claim, but all our mattresses were from Coleman, so you could have went to Walmart and replaced them. You know what I mean? But most people didn't take care of them, so yes, they leaked down over the night. But just know,
memory foam.
right? Well, no, well, this is just the cushion. It just slides. It's jack not yeah. No, all our products have the table up front now. It's behind. I think on this one I haven't got that far yet, to be honest with you. I don't know on this one, to be honest with you. On that's just gonna pull out. It's not gonna have storage in there. Yes, I know what you're talking about. I'm gonna find out on this floor plan, but that's a problem I had. I want to make sure I figure that out where I can put that because you don't want to just let that. But yes, most of our products now is gonna have a rack for the table and the poles.
They're gonna be underneath the couch.
All behind the couch. And no, now on the entry level, or your Hurricanes will still be that, but well, it's just an Ace. Never mind.
Gemini already has something.
Yeah, they had. Yeah. And most of your Axis always did too. Now your Hurricanes and stuff like that, you should start seeing 17s. Good question.
You like that?
Behind the couch.
Behind the couch. Okay.
No, if you got the clip, you got the Rapid Camp. Remember Rapid Camp? We used to do the jacks. The jacks aren't on there anymore. Okay. Remember this coach, we're right here, so we know this coach has what? Because I don't see tank heaters. What? It's got water system heat. Okay. And there's your tank readouts. Remember, you can change the sensors. You remember you're on your generator. Hold it down a little bit. We'll prime it, choke it, and then push up to start
Stop.
it.
Yeah.
Hold it down to start. The light will come on, and then also your hot water heater. If the light's on, or your on your hot water heaters, that means it's not working. Okay. No, this is gas and electric hot water heater. What's the advantage of that? You turn them both on and heat them up a lot quicker. Okay. Big deal there. And we do that in most of our products. Just bathroom, stainless steel residential reefer. Remember, with 4 batteries, I usually coat 4 to 6 hours with cold food and a cold reefer. If you want to get more time out of that residential reefer auto gen start, what would you do? You'd add more batteries. Okay, but most people will say, well, I go to Florida and I ain't paying $40, $60 a night for camping. I'm gonna stay at Pioneer Camping, and it's $8, $12 a night. But they don't have power, water, and they don't let you run your generator after 10 o'clock. So this is why I'm going into that, guys. In his mind's thinking 4 to 6 hours not gonna work. Well, if he makes sure his coach is charged and he gets up, I mean, if he goes in and out of the refrigerator after 10 to 7, yes, you need to add more batteries. But most people don't do that. They can't. The refrigerator will be fine if it cuts off and sits, because it'll stay cold because you're not opening up the doors. But remember, if you want to add more, don't overquote it. Sir, you might get more than 4 to 6 hours, but that's what you're I used to.
So where did the 30 hours come from?
I don't know. When I first started, it was 9 to 12, which it cost me a couple of batteries for a customer. But I quote 4 to 6, and that's what I would stick at. If they want to add more batteries. And yeah, 6-volt batteries instead of 12-volt. What's the advantage in that?
Fast recharge.
6-volt, you can run them down all you want, and they'll still charge back up. 12-volt, you can only do it so many times. Any questions or concerns? Notice this new rack, I got my clothes on it. This is really cool in the Outlaw. It's got for your clothes rack. You got your breaker box. You got your carbon dioxide taker. Also talk about why we have 3 air conditioners on, or 3 air conditioners on this coach. We don't run the duct back to this Toyhauler. Why? Because an idiot will sit back there and run his motorcycle and kill everybody in the front. Okay, so that's why. That's why it has 3 air conditioners. And yes, you can run 3 air conditioners off the generator, but if you wanted to turn on the microwave or something, you'd want to shut one off. It'll just kick a breaker, you can restart it. Any questions about that? Let's go to the back and I'll get you guys out of here.
Is this on all the Outlaws then?
Well, no, just the BG and the 13-foot garage.
Step here.
Because
Some don't have this.
no, because that's where we're getting now. The reason we did that is the guy's got a golf cart, right? He can pull it up and gain that much more space to put a Harley back there. 2,500 pounds carrying capacity in an A, 15 in a C. You're gonna get the question, will it do more? Will it do that? We rate it, we test it for a lot more. But what we recommend is 2,500 pounds. I've got a picture of a smart car in Outlaw if you want it. Like I said, just take yourself out of it. The guy starts talking about it. If you decide you want to do that, it's up to you. But Thor recommends. I mean, we test it for a lot more, and yeah, it'll do a lot more, but that's what we rate it for.
And that's the door and the floor.
Yeah, the door you put 2,500 pounds on. In a down position, Derek, open up the. Never mind. In a down position, this will hold 1,500 pounds. If they're doing a Derek, pull that down, please. You're supposed to do it. Never mind. This is the new system. This is awesome. This is done by Moore. You just slide this out. Okay. This will pull out. This will extend out. Lock it.
Well, that's pretty easy.
That's way better.
Yeah. On all Class A Outlaws. The residentials come with the ladders or the steps. People can add that, but not with me. It's going to be aftermarket. I always quote 1,500 pounds. I've never had these cables break or pull out. If a guy's concerned, say he's got 20 people at a party or something, they make these drag screw-up legs they can put up underneath it just for peace of mind. Also know if you got a guy that's got a chopper and it's real low, you can take the jacks, manual mode, put the jacks down in the front, take the pinch out of the pulling it in. You get that?
You what now?
So
Put the front jacks down.
if the guy's got a motorcycle and the clearance is bad, he can put the front jacks down and get it up. So it's taking the out of this. Look, so you got the floor. You got the floor. You put the front jacks down. It's going to get it more level.
You might be on the phone already.
But they can put a board down. It'll help them pull in and out. Any questions about the toy hauler area that's got storage up under here? Okay. Also, this will cover the whole. We do that on the RB as well. This model does not come wash and dryer prep. You can do it. The RB does not come wash and dryer prepped either. You can do it, but just be careful with that. Don't overquote it. You got your just your small refrigerator here. Air conditioner. The reason we do that is because we can't duct it. What I talked about. Y'all are used to these drop bunks, right? I can't remember.
We get them once in a while.
I can't remember what the damn. Anyways, you can put the. You should have a stop for the. You can figure this one out. This is the first one I've looked at, to be honest with you guys. But anyways, you can stop the top bed. Just put the couch down, and it makes it to a couch. But also, you can set them up where you can sleep 4 adults back here.
Is this going to be standard?
Yep, standard on all BG's option on. Well, it won't be on RB.
Right.
Okay, then the option on the RB would be the couches on the wall. Okay, but power, and you got your bug screen still an option. Any other questions about the toy hauler area, because this is new? And then you'll have this in the BG. You got a port back here to start your bike that's got a hot and a ground. So if your bike's dead, you can jump it. Also know that every radio you see like this in a Thor is usually in the rear, and it controls your outdoor speakers Bluetooth, okay? Axis, whatever. Any questions about that? This is your rear awning control, power on a Class A, manual on a Class C.
They need your credit card.
I'm done.
All right,
That's it.
thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. I'll have this for the guys.
Okay, so this plug right here would be hot riding down the road, and then we do one front, center, and rear hot plugs with inverters. So a 29M's got an inverter, but it's not 1800 watt, and it doesn't have auto gen start. But we put that in there so that outdoor refrigerator will be cold when you get where you're going. Okay, makes sense? And then all your plugs will be hot, and that plug will be hot outside, and then one front. I wouldn't quote 3 on a smaller coach, but on a Tuscany or a Challenger or a Miramar, you're gonna have one front, center, and rear hot, okay, with an inverter. I'm gonna let this up real quick. Here's the signal. You got to hit the disconnect button. Always make sure we're gonna operate this without 12 volt because I know the batteries are charged. But I'm gonna tell you right now, operating Swintech on 12 volt will catch up with you, okay? Because of the fact that most of you guys are a little different than most dealers. Your lot's tight. You got one of the best looking lots I go to. I go to a lot of dealers, and I mean that. I can go to a lot of dealers and not see near as much product as you guys got here, so you guys are lucky. But if you go to most lots and they got 7 amps coming off the battery, you hit connect, and you go to run a slide out in and out, you got 2 motors, right? One wire feeding both of them, and you're only pulling 7 amps off the battery. That front motor is going to be going faster and cause it to bind up. So I highly suggest when you get ready to do your test drive, let the customer go inside, fire the generator or plug it in before you run the slide outs or drop down bunks. You can run them off 12 volt, but it will catch up with you. And customers aren't going to be worried about it because they keep their units charged. But on the lot, we know we face a lot of dead batteries. So the way to operate Swintech, every Swintech is going to have one of these boxes. If you want to come in on tight on that, I don't know if you can or not. You're going to have, these 2 are your brakes, okay? You got retract and extend, okay? If you have a problem, you can swap those and it'll reset it and fix a lot of your problems. If that doesn't work, make sure these are plugged in. You hit in this window, this button 6 times, hold it on the 7th, it'll flash a code. Your customer can call Swintech, hey, it flashed 3 times. Oh, no big deal, do this, reset it. Oh, well, one of your right motors is blown, you're gonna have to get it fixed. So to get a slide out in on a failure, you can unplug your brakes and push it in. If you get a drop down bump that's off centered, unplug your brakes and push it up, okay? Anything you sell with a Swintech, if it has 3 slides and a drop down, how many boxes would it have? 4.
You said 4.
2 motors per 1 box. Okay, and that's whether you're selling whatever you're selling. It doesn't matter if it's a high-end 5th wheel with Swintech. Your drop-down bunk is Swintech. And remember, most of our Swintechs have problems at shows, and the reason why is your 50 amp to 30 amp to 110. You got a lot of coaches plugged in. It's power hungry, and they do what? You ever seen one do that? That's why it does. It doesn't have enough power. So it's not. Swintech is the best slide out in the industry, and I'll fight you tooth and nail with it. But you got to know how to operate it. You got to have sufficient power. And like I said, I'm going to show you this if y'all step up just a minute. When you let the slide outs in, step up just a minute. I'll let you hear it. You're not going to hurt a Swintech by holding this down a little bit longer because you want the motors to bottom out.